Hey guys, it's Brittany. So I'm going to go over 4 different types of medicine today, essentially. There's homeopathy, isopathy, antipathy, and allopathy. I have a separate video on allopathy because it's other than homeopathy, the term that we sort of most know these days colloquially, but it's often almost always entirely, our understanding is entirely incorrect. Anyway. So let's go over homeopathy first because it's what you're probably most familiar with if you're watching this, just based on the fact that I'm a homeopath. So homeopathy is prescribing a substance based on the symptoms it creates in the body, and you're prescribing it for similar. So if something creates nausea in the body, you give it for nausea. Okay. Now it's a more holistic form of medicine than that. In general, we take multiple symptoms and we find one substance that has those multiple similarities. Okay. Now, antipathy is in some ways the opposite, which is kind of funny because antipathic means opposite. Homeopathy means similar suffering. Antipathic means opposite suffering. So you are giving something that creates exactly the opposite symptom. So if you are in pain, the opposite is something that creates too little pain, like opiates, right? You don't feel enough. It takes away too much feeling. That's what they do. And so you give it when you're feeling too much, right? I mean, that's sort of addiction too, right? You're feeling too much and you take something that takes away that pain. Now, Hahnemann calls antipathy and enantiopathy, he also calls them palliatives. So if you see palliatives in the Organon, he is talking about this particular type of prescribing. Now, you can't really call any full system of medicine antipathic. You can call a specific prescription antipathic. Hahnemann talks about it as symptomatic treatment, but it's because you can't really prescribe antipathically the way you do homeopathically. You know, if you took somebody with arthritis, how in the world would you prescribe antipathically for all of their symptoms? Like, you know, they're worse in the morning, they have joint swelling, they have pain. You could do an analgesic for their pain. But what's the opposite of a swollen joint? I have no idea. What is the opposite of being worse in the morning? I have no idea. So like you couldn't really prescribe holistically. You have to treat symptomatically if you're going to treat antipathically. Now, isopathy is same suffering. So this is the one that's most often confused with homeopathy. Even homeopaths confuse this with homeopathy. I will be nice and I won't say anything else. So isopathic, same suffering. So this is like our allergy treatment today. You know, if someone's allergic to peanuts, they get super microdoses of peanuts. This is isopathic treatment. You give small doses of whatever the problem is, and the hope is that the body sort of learns to tolerate it, learns to not react anymore. You could also argue vaccines are sort of this way. You give a small dose of measles in order to prevent measles later, right? Homeopaths will do this in the sense that sometimes people will give the organism that's causing a problem. So if you get a lot of candida infections, you get a homeopathic remedy of candida, essentially a small dose of candida, and in the hopes that that will help your symptoms. This is not homeopathy. This is isopathy. 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 Not homeopathy. Whether or not it works is like totally like a different question. The point is that it's just not homeopathy. So if you want to practice isopathy, that's fine, but just know that that is what you're practicing. You're not practicing homeopathy. So then the last one, allopathy. So allo means other suffering. So allopathy, other suffering. So this is in practice what everybody except a homeopath does. So this is why in aphorism 52, Hahnemann says there's only two things in the world. There's allopathy and there's homeopathy. That is true because the only other full system of medicine is allopathy. There is no full system of medicine for isopath. Like, you never meet someone who says, I'm an isopathist, right? And you never meet somebody who says, I'm an antipathist, right? You are a homeopath or you are an allopath, according to these 4 buckets, right? The reason is because allopaths, how do I say this? So allopaths, it means other suffering, and it means that the prescriptions are not necessarily based on what sort of symptoms the medicine creates. So if you think about a drug study, they are not studying what symptoms the drug creates. Essentially, that's what they call a side effect, right? So your side effect is what the drug creates in the healthy body, and they're super, super vague, like tiredness and dry mouth, right? Or nausea. All drugs create nausea and dry mouth and fatigue and diarrhea, right? And it's just, and so it just goes to show how incredible our homeopathic provings are. They're just so much more detailed than the drug study side effect list. Anyway, so in a drug study, they are looking at a particular marker, which like an outcome, and seeing whether or not the drug changes it. So in a diabetes drug study, they'll be looking to see, does the drug decrease HbA1c? Yes or no? That's what they're looking for. Any other information is not important, except, if they're all dying, that's a bad side effect for that drug and might not get approved, we would hope. One prescription can be allopathic in the sense that it's based not on what symptoms the drug creates, right? So it's based on a theoretical basis. Your liver is, the practitioner thinks your liver is full of toxins, so they give you a detox. That is a theoretically based prescription. That is an allopathic prescription. But as a full practice of medicine, things are also allopathic if not every prescription is attempting to be homeopathic, antipathic, isopathic. That they're all a little bit the same. This is why in conventional medicine, some prescriptions are actually homeopathic and actually isopathic and actually antipathic. Like each individual prescription can be one of those buckets, but then if you sort of zoom out and look at the whole practice of medicine, you'd have to call it allopathic because they're just sort of doing these piecemeal prescriptions. Homeopathy is the only system of medicine then where all prescriptions are based on a particular philosophy and a particular not like a way of looking at disease, but they are all based on the idea of similar symptoms being cured by similar drugs. Symptoms created by drugs. Right? Similar to similar. Allopathic, anything goes. It's basically what it is. Yeah. All right. So I hope that was clear-ish. I always get these things confused, but I think the basic thing you have to remember is that there are only two systems of medicine, homeopathy and allopathy, and that if you're looking at particular prescriptions, there's 4 different types of prescriptions: isopathic, based on the causative agent; antipathic, based on creating the opposite state of suffering; homeopathic, similar state of suffering; or allopathic, anything else. Right? Okay. All right. Till next time.